Welcome to Meditation and Aliens with Doro and Matt, a webcast that explores everything we currently know about the truth about aliens, human history, reality, consciousness, and the role meditation can do to help us understand all these things, and how we might all work together to build the best world possible for all beings, human or non-human alike. Meditation and Aliens is hosted by me, Matt Reddy. I'm an amateur ufologist. I have a degree in philosophy. I'm the creator of hive1.net. I'm the author of a book called Revolutionary Mindfulness that's about meditation and activism. I'm also an elected public hospital commissioner in Jefferson County, Washington. Each week, I am joined by Doro Kiley, longtime meditator, a meditation teacher, and an experiencer with many stories, and life coach extraordinaire. You can find more about Doro at her website, creationcoach.com. Now, on to the show. All right, we are back with another episode of Meditation and Aliens. Hope everyone's doing great out there. How are you doing, Doro?
Oh my goodness. I'm doing great. How are you doing, Matt?
I'm doing good. My mind is kind of exploding because I've gone down some different rabbit holes.
Oh, goody. I love that.
I found some interesting new resources of information that I'm looking forward to telling you about.
Okay.
So should we just jump into it?
I'm ready to jump. Yeah, if you are.
Okay. So over the last couple of weeks, I think we've talked a bit about this. I think last week I played some clips from some of the big figures, whistleblowers in ufology, particularly about Bob Lazar and Area 51 and Element 115. And so we played clips from Lou Elizondo, Christopher Mellon, David Grush, and I'm starting to get a really clear picture that really differentiates these different figures in ufology, because I'm really searching for the truth, which I know you are too.
Oh yeah. Let's dig.
Just wanting to understand what is going on. If these UFOs flying around are real, then there has to be a deep and long, detailed, true story of what they are, where they came from, who's flying them. And it seems that there's a controlled disclosure group that is controlled by the U.S. government or some part of the U.S. government. I guess the way I now see it is it's clear the secret keepers have been in control of the Pentagon and the CIA and the Air Force for a long time.
Yeah.
What is unclear now is who is currently in control of the Pentagon and the CIA and the U.S. government, because there's enough people in Congress, Senator Schumer, Senator Rounds, Burchett, Luna, Gates, AOC, they are all on the side of some sort of controlled disclosure. It seems Lou Elizondo, Christopher Mellon, David Grush, Ryan Graves, Alex Dietrich, Gallaudet, the Rear Admiral Gallaudet, they are all pushing for a type of controlled disclosure, but you can kind of tell that they are a very limited controlled disclosure under strict orders of what can be released and what cannot, because the litmus test issue is Bob Lazar,
Yeah.
and Element 115, and anything really exotic, like what are the aliens? What types of aliens are there? What are there? Greys, reptilians, mantids? None of them will touch those topics.
No.
So you sort of put these controlled disclosure agents on one side, because and now you sort of look who is actually trying to tell the full truth of everything they know without restriction and just like going for it, like you and I are.
I think that would be Stephen Greer. What do you think? I mean,
Yeah.
but I'm guessing.
Yeah, Stephen Greer is definitely he's a little I put him in a little bit of a gray zone, because there are a few red flags I have about Greer, but he definitely seems to spill the beans on all sorts of stuff none of these other people will talk about. So I put him in. I think he might be still kind of teamed with the US government or with somebody. I mean, I don't 100% trust Greer, but he definitely talks about a lot of stuff.
Hmm.
So he's in a gray zone. I put actually George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell in a gray zone. One, because they have talked extensively about Bob Lazar, but they seem to be in sort of this gray zone also. And Ross Coulthart from UK, or not UK, Australia, I put him in a gray zone.
Hmm. What was his name again?
Coulthart,
Colt Hart. Okay.
Coulthart, yeah, I think I'm saying that right.
Hmm.
But a really interesting character is Daniel Sheehan, um, because he's a civil rights attorney, really amazing activist attorney, and he represented Greer's Disclosure Project, and he also represents Lou Elizondo,
Hmm.
and he's been making the rounds. I actually saw him in person at that event in Las Vegas, but I didn't talk to him. But he's been making the rounds, and he's been spilling the beans on stuff nobody else will talk about. Like he's actually said on the news, he said when pressed who is really controlling stuff, he mentioned the word Majestic 12, MJ12, which is a rabbit hole of a topic leading to this whole concept of a secret world government. So
Wow.
when he drops that, that is almost like saying Lou Elizondo and Stephen Greer both are making a nod towards MJ12 being a real story, which that's led me down the rabbit hole to some of these other people I'm going to bring up. But also Daniel Sheehan has gone ahead and listed the aliens that he believes exists.
See,
And
this is amazing because he is an attorney, right? He's
yeah,
not some kind of a Joe out in the field. I mean, he's a real attorney.
he's a
So,
big time attorney. He's
okay.
involved in the Iran Contra affair, the Pentagon Papers. He's been fighting the government and the deep state for years to get the
Wow.
truth out about stuff. Um, and he's founded this thing called the New Paradigm Institute, and they're actually, and he's a real intellectual, and he comes from, what is it? It's a religious order, not the Catholic. It's a part of the Catholic. It's
Um,
uh,
I'm bad at that too. I mean, I go straight to Rosicrucians, but I don't know.
it'll come back to me, but it's
Yeah.
a intellectual part of um, the Catholic order. But he is actually pushing to get academia to really study ufology and the history and what's going on with aliens. What are their agendas? What policies do we need to put in place? And so he's launching 4 courses to try to like invite people to start studying this in an academic way. And the courses, I could look them up here, but they're basically like the history of this, and they get into the depth, theoretical depth of this. And they're starting in the end of this month, the first one, and he's doing the first 2, and each one is like 4 weeks, costs like $200. And then the second 2 courses are led by this guy Richard Dolan, who is you know he's considered a one of the most respected longtime researchers of ufology, who I
Uh-huh.
had who I had not really delved into a lot because I found him sort of condescending whenever I heard him speak on interviews.
Mm.
But as I was comparing what people were saying about Bob Lazar, I watched a few of his interviews in more in depth, and I realized, oh, this guy is willing to go there. He's willing to explore everything. He's sort of one of those very conservative intellectuals who's just like keeping his options open. He's just like, it could be this, it could be that, it could be.
Yeah. So,
Um,
give me just for my own brain, what is the relationship again between Bob Lazar and Daniel Sheehan?
well, there's no relationship that I
Okay.
know of
Yeah.
there.
Right. Got it.
The only Bob Lazar has a relationship with Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp, years and years
Mm.
relationship. I'm not aware of Sheehan ever actually talking or having a connection to Bob Lazar.
Got it.
And I don't think Sheehan's never gone. Yeah, I don't think he's ever said anything about Bob Lazar and Element 115. So he's kind of participating in the controlled disclosure, hesitancy on that. But Richard Dolan, definitely. Richard Dolan, I went ahead and found that Richard Dolan has published multiple books, huge books covering the history of this whole topic. And 2 of them cover the history of it. And one is called something called like Alien Agendas, the more recent one. And I've been scanning through all 3 of these. and they hit everything. They hit Majestic
Wow.
12, they hit Bob Lazar. He goes into every type of alien, just like Sheehan does. And it sort of seems makes sense why Sheehan and him are the ones that are creating these 4 academic courses, because in Dolan's book, he talks about the Greys, everything we know about them based on abduction stories and the most credible stories he's found,
And are
including
they related to the Mantids? Did he
oh,
say?
he talks about the Mantids in there. He
Okay.
says when the Mantids, there are many stories where the Mantids are with other extraterrestrials, like the Greys and the short Greys and the tall Greys. And he says whenever the Mantids are with the Greys, the Mantids always seem to be in charge. So
Wow.
there's like a deferential thing there, a power or a respect thing, like they're an older race or something.
Interesting.
And he talks about reptilians, and he talks about that some of the stories, and I mean he mentions a really credible military story where these witnesses were abducted and they saw reptilians or a reptilian walking with military officers side by side at like an equal stature in at a base. And so that was
Wow.
kind of like curious. And
And so remind me again his position, Dolan. What is his actual
he's
position?
a ufology researcher. He's
Okay.
just sort of an intellectual that's been writing books and studying this, analyzing the data for years. And he seems to have a really um he's actually seems to have a really skeptical intellectual mind, and he's not I think it's been hard for him to take this stuff seriously. He sort of described how it really shocks your worldview. It really shocked his worldview about what is really going on with the US. And so I think it's been hard for him to come to grips with what he's been
Everybody,
finding.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard.
So these 4 courses that Sheehan and Dolan are going to do, I'm going to just take them.
Are
And
you? And so the first one is 200. Each of them are 200.
each
How's it
of
work?
them is yeah, $200,
Okay.
and they're online. Maybe I'll just like pull up the New Paradigm Institute and just like give a quick read of what the
The New
courses
Paradigm
are.
Institute. I'm going to check
Yeah.
that out.
So the first one is February 29th through March 21st, 4 weeks, and it's the facts, history, law, and politics of UFO, UAP with Daniel Sheehan. Facts, history, and law, politics of UFO and UAP with Daniel Sheehan. That's one. And then he's going to do a second part of that course, another 4-week course. And it's the first one says the 4-week course will provide a comprehensive history and overview of UAP development with a focus on what we can take as facts concerning the most closely held secret in history. After nearly 80 years of cover up and manipulation
Yeah,
of the publicly available information, the most important thing for all of us is to understand what the actual facts are. Then
boy.
the second one, the second course, let's see, intended to provide a solid foundation for future learning about UFO and UAP and ET issue. And these 2 courses are core courses that every student needs to take, along with Richard Dolan's 2 courses, in order to complete a certificate and enter the ET studies program jointly offered by the New Paradigm Institute and Ubiquity University.
And you're going to do it.
Oh, I'm totally gonna, one, it'll be an
That's great.
amazing way to meet other people that are really trying to delve into this. And just by skimming Dolan's book, I'm like, oh my gosh, I
Mm.
don't know anything. Dolan, he, in his books, there are so many stories. I mean, so many like credible stories going way back. He goes, he goes back to some ancient stories of in like the 1500s of intellectuals,
Whoa,
this
really?
intellectual in Italy, yeah, that had an encounter that he wrote down everything he talked about with the aliens. I could even like maybe for a future episode I could pull that up, but he had a very interesting philosophical discussion, or this a well-recorded philosophical discussion back from ancient times
Wow.
with aliens. Um
I'm going to
and
look up
just
his
tons of
book.
stuff.
So it's Alien Agenda. Is that it? What was his first name again? Dolan?
Richard Dolan.
Richard? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Richard
Okay.
Dolan. And let's see, the 3 books I got of his, one is called UFOs for the 21st Century, The Definitive Guide to the UFO Mystery. And then it's the next one is UFOs and the National Security State, Chronology of the Cover-Up from 1941 to 1973. And here's another one that goes, maybe that the first one I mentioned goes from 1973 closer to the present. And then the one that but is really fun is the alien agendas, a speculative analysis of those visiting Earth. And that story goes really deep into the different types of aliens and what they're about. And
Oh.
yeah, and he's teaching the two courses after those first two. And the first Richard Dolan course is called UAP and National Security State with Richard Dolan.
Okay.
So it says this 4-week course will cover the 2-volume book Dolan has written on UFOs and the national security state, which details year by year, beginning in 1945, the number of UFOs cited. We will also dive into the evidence gathered, the cover-ups engaged in by the US and other governments, the people marginalized and persecuted for insisting on the reality of UFOs. Finally, we will discuss the inexorable momentum towards UFO disclosure.
Oh my goodness, I am so tempted. I am
Oh yeah,
so tempted to do this with you. Wow.
I think I think you will be very tempted. And also, wouldn't that be so fun if we're taking this, we're going deep, we'll be meeting people in these we'll get to ask Daniel Sheehan and Dolan, directly
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah. Yeah. That'd be wild.
I'll
Gonna
just
get
bring the
his book. Can I share my screen to show his book? Because I've got it up on my screen here.
sure.
So that's his one book, The Alien Agendas, the speculative analysis of those visiting Earth. Oh, I've got to listen to that. Crazy.
Yeah, I've just been skimming them.
Okay. All right. Well, I got some homework to do here.
The final course they have offered is Aliens Agenda After Disclosure with Richard Dolan, and that one's starting in May. These are sequential, so you can just take each one. And that Aliens Agenda one says this 4-week course looks at speculations Dolan and others who have made concerning who the aliens are, what they are doing here, why they came, how they are perceiving humankind. The course will also speculate on human affairs after disclosure, which is a subject of Dolan's recent books, After Disclosure with Alien Agendas.
Oh my. Okay.
Yeah, so that's pretty exciting.
And they have these are like what, Zoom classes, and they're recorded in case you can't make a class. How's it
Yep, that
structured?
seems that's what. Yeah, they're gonna have these 4 live courses, and then each one is recorded, so you can just
Nice.
watch them after. And like they're trying to build this up to create, full academic masters and PhD programs that universities can, model after these. So which is what we
Well,
need.
good.
We need the brains on earth to really start talking and thinking about this. And every academic subject needs to start, especially history and politics, needs to start revising everything it's teaching to
I
integrate.
totally agree. I also think, we need to, not just academically, but we need to, I think, accept the fact that these consciousness levels of consciousness, these aliens that reside in these different levels of consciousness, multidimensional, they are communicating with us. I don't know how they're going to study that in college. That would be interesting.
Well, I
They're
mean, they can.
communicating telepathically.
Well, I mean, I think you just got to study. You got to study those stories that people have told about how they've communicated with aliens. They've got to start studying telepathy. They've got to start
Yeah.
studying meditation, start
Yay.
doing experiments. And I mean, that's one thing I found in Dolan's book very quickly when he talked about these aliens. He's like, every single alien species seems to have telepathy. It seems
Yeah.
to absolutely be a
Right.
real phenomenon.
Yes. So I find that interesting that this might go to the higher academic level. Uh, it's going to be challenging
I mean,
to, because
it's
they have to
gotta
look at
be.
telepathy seriously.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a challenge for universities. I think
Mm,
so far they've just, looked at it with kind of, you know, doubt and not able to prove it, so they can't really believe it. So,
yeah. And again, it just I don't know what is more shocking and powerful, the realization that the US government maybe a sham that's been run by some secret group and hiding so blatantly hiding this UFO and alien secret for so long. Or, I mean, that's shocking enough. But then you have, if telepathy is real and the aliens are been here the whole time and they can use telepathy and potentially like go through walls and come into our homes anytime. I mean, that is like that could so easily be so terrifying for people and just make them not feel safe in their own mind.
Yeah, yeah, it could be terrifying, but it makes me wonder, is this where we have to go? We have to just get used to just, being spied on in our brains. I mean, not only aliens, but Google and everything else, who knows? What's your thought on that? What do you feel about this idea that we might be not only just watched, but we might be influenced in our thoughts, and
Yeah.
our actions?
Well, I think about it all the time.
Yeah.
I've another rabbit hole I've been going down is YouTube videos where they are interviewing uh, priests who are experts in exorcism, and they've been telling
Ooh.
because I suddenly realized, well, in watching them, you very quickly start to realize this seems to potentially just be aliens again. The priests they describe how a person can seemingly get controlled, taken over by a an entity, and they describe how they their experiences, and they describe how they get these entities out of people, and then people can sometimes just go on and live happy lives. And and now it's set within the framework of their Catholic belief system,
Yeah.
but the things they describe to me just seems to be describing a phenomenon that seems related to this same thing, the same thing we're describing with aliens in some way,
Wow.
and their ability to do telepathy and get inside of people's brains in a hostile sort of takeover with sometimes apparently really malicious intent.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just found that the story's fascinating. And I'm just, it's like, and trying to understand what could be going on here. Like, who would those aliens be that are uh getting into people's minds seemingly? Well, this is one thing that comes up and again, and I could play a clip here from another, but it might come up in this clip I'm planning on playing later in this. But this thing about free will, and there being really strict laws that the aliens have to follow, and that they cannot violate the free will of a person. And
Right.
this seems to come up and again that they, even though they have telepathy and can get into your mind, it just you just hear it in these different stories that if you order them out, even many of these abduction stories, there's this continuing theme that if you actually say no, I don't want to go with you, they have to let you go. Like
Right.
they
You
somehow like
block it.
convince
Yeah.
you. Yeah, they kind of like gaslight you or manipulate you the same way sort of, really predatory humans do in relationships, and
Mhm.
they get you to a consent to them coming into your mind or touching you physically or taking you somewhere. You have to kind of agree or at least not object.
Mm.
And that
Interesting.
seems to be to come up with these stories of exorcism, that people have these hostile beings get into their brains because they, some part of them agrees to it, like in terms of a trade. Sometimes it can be like as the beings offer to help a person get money or some other thing they want in life. So it's kind of like a trade-off that they're agreeing to. It's
Mm.
almost, like a deal with a genie almost type of thing. Or I mean, in Christian, they would call it a demon. But
Isn't that interesting? Yeah.
yeah.
But no, I mean, a lot of times this is completely unconscious, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it can kind of be subtle. And yeah, I imagine it can be unconscious. I mean, if you just don't ever say no and say, get out of my brain, you may not realize you have that option of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I think we do. We need to put up some kind of a this, it stops here. This is my safety bubble here. Don't pass. So yeah, that's something to really look at, because the whole psychic phenomena is going to put everybody into question. I mean, who else is in my brain?
Yeah.
um,
Well,
yeah,
when I was a little kid, laying in bed, I was at first really scared of vampires and scared of the dark.
yeah.
And I started this practice of which I learned in Sunday school. How you start a prayer is you do the sign of the cross, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and then you put your hands together so like you're gonna pray. And I started doing that as a child in bed. Whenever I started to get afraid, I would feel like something was coming to get me. I would just immediately do that. I would do the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, sign of the cross, and put my hands together, pray. And it was like a protection spell.
Hmm.
And I did that for years and years. And I almost feel like it's I mean, I have these theories that might there some of these religions might be connected to different alien groups, and it might be that I don't know, I have this theory that by doing that I was in a way calling a specific benevolent power. I mean, I was calling God whatever I conceived of as God, but maybe that's enough. Maybe just by like calling God a benevolent God to protect you is the essentially the same as saying to all the malicious entities that could get into your brain, like you're not welcome.
Yeah, right.
And
Yeah.
and so I almost feel like I did that so much through the early part of my life that I got my brain set off limits to hostile entities getting in there. Or maybe I've evolved enough that now I'm not as vulnerable to
Right.
hostile
Yeah,
intrusion.
I feel the same way. I feel like, when I was a kid, I used to have all kinds of experiences and dreams and things, about aliens and UFOs. And it scared me to the point where I just kept saying, no, no, no. And I have not experienced anything in 30 years other than some, I think, telepathy. But that actual fear of they're here and they're around and they're after me, I haven't had any of that for, since I was a kid, basically. But
Yeah.
I think I put up a big wall. I said, just nope, off limits. Don't come near me. So,
Yeah. I felt a very similar thing, and I'm sort of like mystified why I'm not afraid at all. Like I am so like last night I was meditating and I was really sort of like, you know, I was like consciously saying, I would like to know if I can telepathically communicate, to connect with anyone. I mean, I'm not inviting, these beings like into my brain, but I am open to some sort of communication. And I was really focusing on it, and I like you, I wonder if there's a wall that is there for some reason. I'm not sure if I put it there or if something else put it there or if I just naturally have a wall that blocks because if telepathy is as real and as prevalent as it seems, then these telepathic communications need to be flowing all over. We need to be living in a soup of it. There has to be a
yeah,
soup of telepathic
right.
communication right now that we're in, and why can't we pick up on it?
I heard a great analogy, and that is that we are tuned like a radio, and we have consciously or unconsciously tuned our mind to only a certain frequency. And I think when we're kids, we're just open to all of it and it's all coming in. And over the years, we get better at refining which channel we want to listen to.
Hmm.
And it blocks out all the other noise. It kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah. Well, this sort of starts to touch on the another person I wanted to bring up today, which is a guy named Alex Collier, and
Okay.
his last name is it's spelled Collier, Alex Collier, and he's a guy that's been abducted uh all his uh all his life. And he and I
Repeatedly?
What?
So abducted repeatedly?
Repeatedly, and
Yeah.
telepathic communication, and not sure exactly how I got, but basically somewhere I was, I found someone referencing him, saying he says he's been abducted by Andromedans his entire life, and they've given him tons of information and history about what's going on, and he's been giving talks and writing about it for years. And so I
Hmm.
went, and indeed there's like tons and tons of hours of videos of this guy talking, and some books he's written.
Oh,
And here why don't I just play a bit of it for you? You want
yeah,
to just do that?
absolutely. Yeah.
World War II was over. Many of those that were involved in the spy network, the intelligence network of Germany, including their scientists, were brought to the United States. Many went to Russia. Those that were brought here had information and had dealings with Giza intelligence. So they had a familiarity with the extraterrestrial phenomenon. Now, first, there was the OSS. Then the OSS became the CIA. Then Truman created the NSA, the National Security Agency. The NSA is exempt from all laws in the United States unless it is specifically mentioned in the law. Bill Cooper talks about this as well. It's a reality. It's a reality. You pay the bills, but you have no say about anything that they do. None whatsoever. This group right here is your secret government. Clinton is a janitor. He's a puppet because they are in contact with the extraterrestrials. They have the technology and they have the clout. Because when you take the NSA, which has all this extraterrestrial technology and information, and you couple it with the world bankers, you got a tyranny. You got a tyranny. And that's basically where we're almost at. In the NSA, there are four top...
Sorry, I'll just pause it there for a moment.
Whoa, that was big.
Yeah, and so I think I played some. Did I play some Bill Cooper last week?
Was it Cooper? I can't. Did you?
I don't. I get confused what I've done, but Bill Cooper is he is another ufologist who was revealing stuff in the 80s, and was really big at explaining that JFK was killed by the secret keepers, that this group Majestic 12 and the Bilderberg group were the secret true world government running everything. He talks about the NSA like this guy.
Ah,
But Bill Cooper claimed all of his information came from, he actually saw documents, because he said he worked, and apparently it's true, he worked for naval intelligence, and he would review prepared documents to that would be sent to these secret groups. And so he got to read them because he was helping prepare them. And then he became a whistleblower. So Bill Cooper was claiming he was reading real documents, real source material.
whoa.
This guy Collier, he just claims the Andromedan aliens have told him all this.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. That is
Yeah.
amazing.
And so I
Is
got
he
more.
finished? Is
No,
that
no, I
video
got,
done?
oh no, I
Okay.
got more. I'm going to play some more. I just wanted to pause it there.
Yeah.
Because now he talks about the real government, that is the real power structure from the NSA, the National Security Agency, which it seems to be saying the NSA is really the secret human group that is controlling everything. And it's
Is that, you
interesting.
mean like the Majestic 12? They're the
Well,
core?
he'll
Or-
break it down here. He breaks down
Okay.
these 4 levels, and he says the Majestic 12 is actually the lowest level on the totem pole. Sorry, I shouldn't say totem pole. On the lowest level on it. But here, I'm going to
Okay.
play it.
Wow.
NSA, there are four top secret levels. There's the black monks. This group here is the priesthood. Remember the legends of Samaria and Egypt? There was the gods, then there was the priesthoods. The priesthoods went into the masses and made sure that whatever the gods wanted was fulfilled. It was done.
Wow.
Oh, okay. All right. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was. I didn't mean to stop there. So he says the highest level is these black monks. They are the priesthood that were similar to the priesthood in ancient Sumeria and Egypt. So now he goes further below that. Play that part.
And you've got the rest of us, what we call our government.
So he's like these black monks, this priesthood is above our government.
Whoa. Okay.
And now, so I'm going to keep playing.
Washington, D.C., and the military, etc. On and on and on. In the NSA, there are four top secret levels.
How come the camera is so wiggly?
Yeah.
This group here is the priesthood. Remember the legends of Samaria and Egypt? There was the gods, then there was the priesthoods. The priesthoods went into the masses and made sure that whatever the gods wanted was fulfilled. It was done. They carried out the format, whatever it was. Okay? That's what the black monks are. It's the new priesthood.
I might be playing that a little bit too fast, but
It's okay.
Then you've got the Blue Moon Unit.
The what? Blue Moon Unit.
Blue Moon Unit. Yeah, so
Okay.
it's like the Black Monks and then the Blue Moon Unit.
Is who controls 3 military bases on the moon. They were also the same group that established the 2 colonies on Mars, which are called Adam and Eve. All of that's on Mars went there from the moon. And I'll describe how that all happened. Then you've got the Ultra 1 unit. Then you have Ultra 2. Now, according to the Andromedans, what many people in the UFO circle believe is MJ-12, being the secret government, it is in fact, according to the Andromedans, Ultra 2. It's the lowest rung of the ladder. And if any of you have ever been in the
So that's what I wanted to play. So he goes, there's the Black Monks at the top,
Yeah.
then the Blue Moon Unit, and then I believe then Ultra 1 and Ultra 2. And Ultra 2 is the lowest rung on the ladder, and that's MJ-12, Majestic 12.
I see. Wow.
Yeah, and Majestic 12 is talked about by Daniel Sheehan. He is like connected to Lou Elizondo and Stephen Greer. So it takes you down this rabbit hole all the way back to people like Alex Collier, who's claiming there is bases on the moon, bases on Mars right now. And let me play another clip just to throw some crazy context in this. This is ex-Israeli space chief saying aliens exist, and he talks about bases on planets. This is from 3 years ago.
Okay.
Has the state of Israel made contact with aliens? Well, according to retired Israeli General Professor Chaim Eshed, the answer is yes. Eshed served as the head of Israel's space security program for nearly 30 years, and he says that Israel and the US have both been dealing with aliens for years. Now, to clarify, this by no means refers to immigrants. Eshed is clarifying the existence of a so-called galactic federation, and the 87-year-old former space security chief told Israel's Ynet News that lots of agreements have been made between the aliens and the US to try and research and understand the fabric of the universe. Well, apparently this has all been kept a secret because humanity isn't ready. And if true, it would coincide with US President Donald Trump's creation of the Space Force as a 5th branch of the US Armed Forces. Apparently, Trump knows about the aliens too. Well, we have our correspondent Ariel Levin-Waldman joining us to break down the veracity of this report. So first of all, Ariel, give us a breakdown of the most shocking revelations that Israel's former space security chief has made here.
Well, you certainly covered the most shocking ones. The claim made by Professor Chaim Eshed is that we are not alone in the universe, and not only are we not alone, we're not even alone on our own planet. The claim is that we have been visited by extraterrestrial life who have set up a joint base of operations with the United States on Mars, buried beneath the surface. He also claims that astronauts from the United States have been to Mars and are working alongside the extraterrestrials at this Mars base. This in addition to the claims of a galactic federation, which interestingly enough echoes statements made in 2005 by former Canadian Defense Minister Paul Hellyer about visits by extraterrestrials to Earth as well. Very shocking statements, but extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof.
Right. Well, you mentioned he talks about the secret underground base on Mars where there are American and alien representatives. I mean, Eshed has a serious background. This is a serious guy. Should we be taking his revelations seriously?
All right. Obviously, they're going to say no.
Oh, really? They say no? Oh.
All right. I'll go ahead and play it.
Yeah.
In the absence of such extraordinary proof, it's very difficult to take any of these claims seriously, at least not at its face value. One of the things you have to look at is just the laws of physics making things very difficult given the sheer size of space and the lack of any
Okay,
evidence
I think we can
that would
stop there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that for this third dimension that we live in, the limit of our reality is the speed of light. But everybody's kind of agreeing at this point that these extraterrestrial intelligences have gone past that. They don't. That's not a problem for them. The speed of light is not a boundary for them,
Yeah.
a limit. So that's how we would travel to Mars. We would go with them. They know how to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Here I've just had this queued up. I got a clip from Richard Dolan, and he sort of talks about some of the secret government things that he says are going on. Sorry if I play that.
Yeah.
Run into, because this is also what I know now, is that I don't think that there's a single central government repository where the UFO secret's being held. I think it's outside the purview of the U.S. government. I think all the U.S. government does is provide security detail for the secret on behalf of corporate and financial power that actually has the information. And who those guys are, all I can do is guess. But I think some of them probably go to Davos every now and then. They may go to Bilderberg meetings, like that crowd, yes. I think some of those people probably are some of those individuals. And that all that the U.S. military now does is basically serve as their security force. They prevent outsiders from getting in. They prevent taxpayers from learning about the program. They even prevent, not just Congress, yeah. Congress has no access to this, but they prevent senior DoD officials from having access.
Yeah. So that's Richard Dolan.
Yeah, they better keep this secret from the taxpayer, right? Because we're paying for everything.
Yeah.
So, well,
yeah.
It's going to change things. Yeah.
So it just seems like, I mean, the story that seems to be, having so much thread is that this Majestic 12 secret world government threads through the Bilderberg group. And when he says Davos, that's the World Economic Forum.
Yeah.
Is what he's talking about. And this Israeli space chief, he's 87 years old, spilling the beans on that there's a base on Mars. That ties to what Collier is saying, that there is bases on the moon and on Mars right now. Bill Cooper said that there's underground joint human alien bases all over Earth, that S4 is one. And that's why, and if that's true, it would make perfect sense why Lou Elizondo, Christopher Mellon, David Grush, Ryan Graves would not legitimize Bob Lazar, because that draws attention to Area 51 and S4, which they can't draw attention to that if there's really a underground alien base there. They have to try to not draw attention to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what do you think people should feel when they hear about all this? That there's aliens and they're here and they're maybe influencing us and maybe even influencing our thoughts in our own head. What would you say to people who are feeling like shocked about all that?
I mean, I just wish I encountered people like that. I don't.
Oh, you've been to those alien conventions, right? They're around.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would say the same thing that I would say to anyone who is like, facing struggles with life. I would say meditation is a great practice, and just learning and talking to other people that are also going through the same thing, of really trying to come to grips with this is talk to people and process it. And I would say, Richard Dolan seems to have a great sort of attitude towards this. And actually, Collier, he's still doing like weekly webinars and stuff that people can like get onto. And he's really old now. But it becomes a very much a, he sees this as we are going through some sort of shift. We are about to shift as a society. and there's a little bit of a competition between these alien factions and the human factions, some of which are kind of selfish and malicious, but but he says there's benevolent aliens that are trying to help us, really, evolve and become a more peaceful, enlightened, less warlike, divided species. They're not just
Yeah.
like revealing themselves. So I don't know. I'm optimistic that this is all going to play out in a nice way. And I think people,
The way I see it is kind of very visual. I'm a very visual person, and I see it as, since this is all happening interdimensionally and we can't see, but it's all around in the energy plasma formations. I mean, it's all here, but we can't see it. And yet I believe that each of our chakras is a portal for communicating. So in other words, the lower chakra, which is basically survival, fear, all that, scary stuff, it's a portal. And if you're living in that space, and if you are residing in that lower survival fear mentality, your portal is open to those influences. And the same thing with the second chakra, which is more all about, just the enjoyment of life, but it can get to the point of addiction. So it's really a lot of struggle. That's where all the addictions are, the sexuality, the drug addictions, everything that you're striving for and having anxiety about is in the second chakra. And if you're there, that opens that portal for consciousness on that level to influence you. And then the third chakra, which is more creative. And the one I aim for is the fourth chakra, which is the heart. So if we can reside in the heart for the most part, that's a portal. That is the portal of balance. And I think that's the portal that the extraterrestrials would like to meet us at. That's where the good ones, I think, reside, and they can talk to us from there. So that's the way I see it visually. And above and beyond that, fourth chakra, fifth chakra, sixth chakra, seventh, that's starts going a little more etheric. So we'll stay in the heart. That's where I would like to focus energy.
yeah. Well, I've been listening to Collier a ton, and he talks a lot about this idea of frequencies and that we're a third frequency. We live in the third frequency or something.
That
And
makes sense. It makes sense to me.
Yeah. And he says that that some of these aliens live in the fourth or fifth frequency, and that's why we can't see them. And he says we are like it's like part of our evolution is to evolve up and become a fifth dimension or frequency, something like that.
Yeah, well, it all makes sense. I think those dimensions are frequencies. I think that's
Right.
what they are. And and that includes the sound frequency, the color frequency, and the emotional frequency.
Yeah.
So the fourth and the fifth, if you're looking at the chakras, that's the heart and the throat. So the heart is where we bring balance into the physical world, which is, in my interpretation, I call that returning to the Garden of Eden. I mean, that's where we want to be. Fourth chakra is more expressive, musical and vocal. So that's kind of where I say moving more up into the etheric states. Yeah, it's all kind of making sense to me visually. So
Yeah. And I sort of had the idea that maybe our first, second, third chakra, maybe each chakra is like an antenna for the different frequencies.
yes, that's another way to put it. I say portal, but antenna absolutely works the same.
Yeah. It really changed my meditation, sort of really focusing on the chakra like it was an antenna. I guess portal is just another way to sort of
Another way.
very similar
It's like a way of information coming in.
Yeah.
So I think if we encourage folks to aim for the fourth chakra, that'll give us that's the channel we want. That's where the benevolent influences reside, and they're encouraging us to grow in our consciousness and gain more awareness, perspective, wisdom, all of it.
Yeah. So interesting, because that is, Collier said that is exactly where we are. We are right now transitioning from the third to the fourth
Nice.
frequency. But so do we have time? Do you want to do a guided meditation?
I would love to do one if you
Okay.
if you think
Yeah.
we're good for that now. So we're a little bit late, so let's do 5 minutes
Okay.
just to get grounded
Great.
and be right here where we are. Okay. Let's start with a little ring of a bell. Hard enough. There we go. We'll follow that all the way to the end. You can almost feel it resonating on your eardrum. So we'll start with just bringing our awareness into this present moment. Be aware of our immediate surroundings, right where we are. Feet on the floor, butt on the cushion, whatever position we're in, just feeling where we are in space and time right now. And with that, we're going to take 3 nice breaths just to begin to relax deeper into this moment. Breathing in and breathing out. Talking about these things that are a little bit scary and destabilizing. You can almost feel that energy in the lower chakras of, are we safe? Are we going to be okay? All those worries. Let's just let that be what it is and recognize it. Feel where it's exhibiting itself. Tight shoulders, tight hands, facial muscles. All of our fear is manifest in our body somewhere. If we can find it, and just breathe into it. And when it's ready, it usually just relaxes. You can scan your facial muscles to see if there's any tension. Right here, right now, the more quiet we can become, the more we can come back into balance. And once we are in balance, we can elevate our energy. The 4th chakra is a portal or an antenna that represents perfect balance. It's the center point of the cross. The Rosicrucians put a rose right on the center of the cross, right where it crisscrosses. That's where balance is. So let's bring our awareness right there. It's a soft place. It's easy to reside there. Like the central focal point of a spinning wheel. No matter how fast the wheel turns, that center point is barely moving. It's balanced. That's the heart chakra. And the only way to find it is through silence. Breathing in, breathing out, observing phenomena rising, existing, and passing. Everything's changing. So with the last minute, let's just envision we're way out in space looking down on this beautiful planet. All the stories, all the history, all the drama, poetry, art, all the relationships, governments, it's all happening right there. Looking at this beautiful planet, let's just wish it, say, may you be well. May you be balanced. May you be happy. And may you be free. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you, Doro. Until next time.
Have a great week.
You too.